Welcome to the Daily Plunge. We are in the book of Psalms, Psalm 83, verses 1 through 18. Starts off, "O God, don't be silent, don't be deaf, don't be aloof. Don't let my prayers go unheard." But God hears our prayers even if we feel like God doesn't. He hears our prayers. But he's saying, I want to see my prayers answered, Lord. God answers all prayers, but we may not see it that way. And that's on us. But he says, hey, your foes, your enemies, they're stirring, they're raising their head, they're encircling me, and they're threatening to destroy your people. These foes aren't just our foes, they're your foes. They hate you, God, and they hate your people who are your property, and they're conspiring to destroy your people and to wipe them from the earth. And as Christians, as we hear this, we think about all the forces that are aligned against the message of the gospel. And it isn't just those things that are obvious. I mean, even busyness and commerce and all the other little things that we throw in the way of the gospel, right? And he says in verse 5, basically, that all your foes are rowing together. They are allied against you, Lord. And as he talks about in Psalm 33 about the various nations in verse 6, they literally form a circle of entrapment around Israel. But what's the circle of entrapment around God's church? What are all the things of this daily world that conspire against us in the faith? Again, jobs, careers, social media, video games, pornography, bills, pressure, politics, the preoccupation with all of these things. And he calls for God's deliverance, and he's remembering his past victories. And he basically says, Lord, I want you to win victories for me like you used to win, like you have won on these previous enemies. And I want you to think about in your own life, who are the enemies that God has conquered before in your life? God has won victories for you before. Look to that and have faith and trust in what God can do for you again. And he says that he'll make them like manure or dung out on the street or in the ground. They'll be crushed into dust. And to make their elites, their wonderful princes and nobles, to just be, to be squashed. And he talks about Zebah and Zemulun, and this is a reference to the victories that God won through Gideon, through only 300 men against thousands, tens of thousands and tens of thousands. And God literally said to Gideon, I only want you to have this small number so that when I win the victory, there's no question about that I won the victory. And that's our prayer too. And he's praying that you would make them irrelevant, that they would become like tumbleweeds and chaff. And wouldn't we wish that the things that we're so bothered with, that God's Spirit would help those things to become irrelevant and in our lives? And to let your fire, your tempest, pursue and terrify them. And really to pursue them with the law so that they are covered with shame, that they'd be ashamed and dismayed for their sin. And they would just die. I would just die, right? That kind of thing. That they would die in disgrace so that here's the gospel, they would seek your name and your character, and that these foes will instead come to know and obey you as Lord. And that's the good news. Hey, thanks, friends. Have a blessed day.